Welcome, everybody, to Diamondific Podcast, episode 204. Lately, I've been coaching my clients on dealing with different challenges that come up when delivering the service. So I decided to do an episode and tell you how I think about different type of clients that maybe present challenges in your business, and especially the difference between demanding clients versus difficult clients. Because some business owners confuse that and they don't necessarily want to work with challenging clients. They put them all in one bucket, but then they miss an opportunity to grow and innovate and get better. Or they work with everybody, even difficult clients, and then that pushes them to be flexible on their boundaries, maybe work for way less than they should normally do, be feel like they're working for free or being taken advantage of, and that's not necessarily a great place to run your business from. So let's start with my own definition of a demanding client versus difficult client. A demanding client is somebody who wants value for their money. Okay, so they are very aware of what they are paying for their services and they want to get the value for their money. So they're not afraid on pointing things that don't meet their standard, whether it's part of the customer experience or the process. When there is challenges with the service delivery, they're not afraid to point it out to you, to tell you where you can do better, and tell you that whatever part of their journey with you doesn't meet their standards or something that they expected from you based on your marketing or sales conversations that you had. Now, a demanding client will hold their part of the agreement that you have, meaning they will pay on time. They will give you the information that you need to deliver the project or whatever you're working on, right? So they will be fair in a way when they will be willing to pay the money. They will be on time. They will hold their part of the agreement, but they will be demanding in terms of how the service is delivered. For example, there's a couple of different types of demanding client. Client might come to you with a challenge that you just never dealt before, but you feel confident you can help them. So it could be new type of project that as a contractor you've never handled before, but you're excited for it. You want an opportunity to learn, but it may be challenging because it's the first time, right? Or it could be if you're in health and wellness, it might be a client who has an issue that you've never helped anyone before. I often have clients who are also demanding or challenging for me in a way where they present a business problem or their own personal development challenges that haven't dealt before, or I haven't dealt with that personality type of the person. And as a coach, I need to figure out and research how to get to them, how to help them solve the challenge or get them to try things that I recommend, for example. So personally, I welcome demanding clients because I think of them as they make me better as a service provider, as a business owner, right? They force me to research, to look outside of the box, to have my process tight or fix maybe some loopholes or little loose ends because they will point out things that maybe other clients either don't see or don't necessarily are willing to point out. So as much as we love easy going clients who are just happy to work with us and we do the best for them, and definitely we want to have a lot of those, occasionally demanding client is never bad for our business because those are the clients that make us better and at the same time are willing to pay for prices, respect our boundaries, honor their part of the contract and the agreement we have. Now let's move on to a difficult client. Difficult client is somebody who has unreasonable expectations, who you cannot make happy. So no matter what you do, no matter how far above and beyond we go, the boundaries that we allow them to break, they will never be happy. Somebody who has hard time making decisions, doesn't hold their part of the contract, so doesn't deliver information you need, is delayed with that information. You have to follow up with them. So somebody very difficult to deal with from the beginning to an end. From those type of clients, we usually learn what not to do. Those type of clients make us usually create boundaries in our business, put things in contract and so on that we learn from that we don't want to experience anymore. Now, ideally, as a business owner, you want to be able to filter out those clients as soon as possible and never get into service delivery relationship with them. Occasionally it happens. We just don't notice certain things. So again, we've never dealt with that type of client and we start working with them. And it turns out that we do feel like we're being taken advantage of, that we're working for free because those clients like to penny pinch, right? So they're just very difficult to deal with. Now, one thing that I want to say that when you are in that situation and you end up working with a difficult client, you do not want to be scared of them, right? You do not want them to lead that relationship and drag you into situations where you're being taken advantage of, or no matter what you do, you're not happy. You want to establish your boundaries. You want to hold on to them. And potentially those are the clients that sometimes we just need to let go because whatever money they pay us, it's not worth it. The time and energy we would spend trying to please them when that's impossible, we can spend that time and energy looking for our best ideal clients. So just to recap, the key difference between demanding client and difficult client. Demanding client challenges you to be better. They demand better service. They demand you fixing maybe some loopholes or challenges in the process that they've noticed, but they are respecting their type of their part of the contract. They're paying you fairly. They're delivering information. They're upholding their part of the commitment, and they're fair in how they judge the situations or judge your process, right? They're not picking on every single thing. They're just pointing out what doesn't work for them, or they're just pointing out what doesn't meet their standard or what they were expecting based on whatever conversation you had during the sales process. Whereas a difficult client makes your life hell. It's stressful to deal with. You never know if they're going to something or not. Or one moment they like something and 2 weeks later they don't like something that they already agreed on. Somebody who changes their mind is penny pinching you, not willing to uphold their part of the commitment. You're just a very difficult person to deal with and unreasonable quite often as well. And now I will share some examples of both type of clients from my business or from my clients, but I want you to also think about your business and the past clients you've dealt with or the current clients that you have and identify those type of clients. Which clients for you are demanding versus which ones are difficult. So for me, as I mentioned before, a demanding client will be somebody who either has different challenges in their business that I haven't encountered yet before, or maybe they have different mindset blocks or different perspective or different way of communicating that I haven't dealt with before. And as a coach, I need to learn more about them, learn how to get to them, how to collaborate with them, or even figure out with them their business challenges and solutions for them. I treat those clients as a challenge for me to get better, as a challenge for me to maybe improve my process in onboarding or service delivery of how I coach, right? To also improve as a professional. Because very often at the end of the relationship with a challenging client, your business is better. Your process is tighter. You are more experienced. So as challenging as it could be to deal with a demanding clients, they're the ones that make us better. Now, difficult clients, you cannot please them. No matter what you do, it's not good enough. They're not willing to try things, or they're not trying to work with you to help themselves. And I have to say, I've been lucky not to have too many clients like that. But in the beginning of my journey, and that usually happens when we're still figuring out what type of clients we want to attract and what's the difference between demanding or difficult clients. I did have a client who was just not willing to work with me as a coach and do the work. So no matter what approach I tried, how much I tried to help them, every time we met, they had excuses or why things didn't work or why they didn't really even try to implement solutions that we're working on. So at some point, I terminated that relationship because it was a waste of time for them, for me, waste of money for them when they're paying for coaching that they weren't willing to try and implement. And I reallocated the time, effort, and energy into attracting my ideal client. I also recently coached a client who had a past clients that sort of turned 180 on what they thought their experience was with my clients when they were delivering the service and project. So shortly after the project that my client worked on and delivered, their client was very happy, left raving review, and was just delighted to work with my client. And then a few months passed, almost a year, a new season started, and my client reached out to them saying, "Hey, do you want to work together again? I know you have the similar projects going on this year." And without really a big explanation, that client mentioned to my client saying, "No, no, no, I don't want to work. I'll go with you. I'm going to look for somebody else," which was, again, very surprising and shocking to my client just based on the experience that they've had before and the happiness and satisfaction they expressed with the first project. So after a little bit of probing, it turned out that the difficult client of my client was reproaching some situations that happened during delivery of the original project that were outside of their control. That was force majeure that even my client talked to at the time. They were very proactive about it. They agreed on certain solutions for that force majeure because they knew it was happening and everything was agreed on. But then few months later, complete 180 saying, "Oh, that was your fault. I wasn't happy with them. That thing happened outside of your control." Luckily enough, that difficult client, that interaction happened after the project was delivered and after the initial satisfaction was expressed. It just prevented my client from working with them again. But it can happen that you have that situation while you're delivering the project, right? And that's challenging to do. How I handle, and I used to handle as a corporate leader, I actually was in operations. So we would deliver services on a regular basis to the same clients. Whenever there was an escalation that was coming my way, sometimes it wasn't, sometimes it was somebody else making a mistake, sometimes it was force majeure, or sometimes it was just misunderstanding of the process. Here is how I handled, and here is how I want you to think about handling any challenging situation, actually, whether they're with difficult clients or demanding clients. Always try to look ahead as you're delivering the project, as you're delivering the service. You want to think about, is there any potential for challenges, right? And if you're foreseeing that maybe there will be a delay to delivery of a product, or there will be a delay in how you deliver a project, or maybe there is a change happening and that will come outside of the budget, or there will be change order required, or whatever the case might be, you want to communicate with your client as fast as possible, transparently. The last thing you want is the client discovering the challenge after the fact or on their own when you could have prevented it. Sometimes things happen, right, in our relationship with clients that we couldn't have foreseen. we couldn't prevent it, and then we deal with that then. But when we can, because we're experts, because we're professionals and we think ahead, you want to communicate that as soon as possible. Now, when you communicate it, not only you want to be transparent, but also right there and then offer solutions and provide solutions. That tells clients, especially the demanding ones that are fair and understanding, that tells them that you already thought through things. It shows them your professionalism because an demanding yet fair person will understand that sometimes challenges happen. It's how you handle them that matters to them, right? If we try to deflect, if we try to blame other circumstances, which clearly, let's say it's our mistake, or when we try to ignore and hope that things will solve for themselves, or we're not coming proactively with solution to not only fix the current problem, prevent it from happening, that's what usually upsets a demanding client. Now, a difficult client might have an issue with whatever we do, whether it's an issue or not. And that's why you might want to consider terminating relationship as soon as you discover you have a difficult client. Now, another point that I wanted to say is how to handle maybe complaints from clients or how to handle emails saying this is not going the way it is or what's going on and so on. To keep emotions out of the conversations, out of the emails. You always want to be calm and confident and collected and matter of factly. I've dealt with many escalations where there was numerous touch points where the problem got bigger or where the things worked, but sometimes other things. So when you're reviewing, let's say what happened and so on, you want to be matter of fact to say, okay, in this part of this challenge, my team or myself, we follow the process. Here is our process. Because sometimes people don't remember what we agreed on. They don't remember the process that you follow to deliver your service, even if you communicated it before, which you always should. People create expectations based on maybe their experience with a similar service provider before, and they forget what we told them or what we agreed on. So sometimes a reminder of the process just says, no, this is what we agreed on. This is the process. We're all good. But if there's challenges that we could have solved or we could have prevented, you want to admit that. You want to take responsibility for it. Not pinpoint if you have team members who maybe made a mistake. So you don't want to throw your team members on the bus and the leader saying, oh, it was Maggie, not me. No, it was us, our company. We take the blame, we deal with it internally, but for the client, it's us. You take the responsibility. And then you say, you figure out, okay, this is what we're going to do to correct it. This is what we're going to do to prevent it from the future. Now, if client is being unreasonable because let's say they're difficult and they're trying to blame you for force majeure, something that nobody could have predicted, or maybe you even talked about it with the client and say, this is the risk. What are you going to do? And the client say, yep, I'm willing to accept that risk. And then later on they complain, you push it back. Don't take blame when there's no due. Take responsibility for things you could have predicted, you could have handled better and so on, but do not take the blame for things that you couldn't have predicted or that even you agreed on before how to handle and the client just changed their mind. When you do that, the fair and even demanding clients will respect that. They will understand and they will have even more trust in you, showing because you will show them as a professional that you don't walk away from owning the mistakes or the process challenges when they're actually yours and you can do something about it. So then there will be more respectful of the times where you push back because that was outside of your control or something that you just couldn't. Now, one more thing I want to say about difficult clients, so clients that are unreasonable, is don't let them run or change your business to accommodate, right? We never want to create processes in our business and the way we run our business on exception. right, on some one difficult client that you get once a year and rearrange your operations to accommodate them, right? Don't let difficult clients to not have boundaries or not enforce your boundaries. So another client of mine noticed that they were having more and more walk-ins into their location or clients showing up way before their appointment. And I said, okay, if that's becoming a pattern, what it tells me is that you're teaching your clients to do that, that you're being too accommodating. In the beginning in our businesses, we might be more flexible because we have time and we don't have a lot of clients. But as your business grows, having structure and teaching your clients that structure is important for you to be able to actually honor everybody's commitment. Because if you keep letting clients twist the schedule, in some clients, it might affect your delivery of services to the other clients and hurt them, right? What you want is when you have difficult clients trying to push the boundaries, you want to hold those boundaries so that the quality of service that you deliver to other clients doesn't suffer. And also your own balance between your business, personal life, and so on. I see so many business owners sometimes answering phones on weekends and outside of business hours where their type of business doesn't even it's not necessary, right? The type of business they run is not this emergency life-saving things when we have to be available 24/7. Certain boundaries, you want to establish them with the clients and not fear that you'll lose the business because the vast majority of your ideal clients will respect that. I will share with you a 3-step process how to determine if a client is difficult or demanding. But before we do that, with difficult clients, as soon as you realize that you cannot help them and you not maybe as soon as you realize that you won't be able to make them happy, that you want to be able to deliver the service the way you agreed, not because of you're not able as an expert or a professional, but because of their unreasonable demand, you want to ask yourself if you want to continue that relationship, right? Now, if you decide to end that relationship, you always want to end it on a professional level, and you don't want on your side to be burning bridges, meaning you want to find the best moment to end it or the best part of in your process of service delivery when you would have delivered the majority of the commitment or the next stage to the commitment. You want to make good to the client for whatever you're not going to deliver if you're not going to continue till the end, right? So maybe you need to either refund or create some sort of make good situation. You want to give a client notice. You want to communicate that properly to them. So then you end it on as best terms as possible. Now, of course, the difficult client's reaction is something you cannot control, but you'll want to feel good about the way you handled it. You don't want high negative emotions around that kind of end of agreement. Ideally, in terms of difficult clients, we want to learn how to spot them before and not get into those relationships. So reviewing your sales process and your qualifications process to have questions in there or certain parts of the process that will be able to detect difficult clients and not for you to eliminate them into and not get into a service relationship with them is the ideal situation. So as I challenged you in the beginning, I want to invite you to review your current clientele or clientele from this year and think about out of all those clients, and there will be usually a minority demanding clients or difficult clients. Majority of people are really easy to deal with. They're great. They chose you to deliver the service. They're happy with it. See if you are dealing with a demanding or a difficult client. Now, once you discover that, if it's a difficult client, then really think about Do I want to continue my relationship with them? And if so, for how long? Where am I in my relationship with them? What can I learn from it? How can I prevent from signing on those clients again? And then make decisions how you want to proceed if it's a current client. The demanding client, you want to challenge yourself to say, okay, what are they teaching me? Why is there, why do I think they're demanding? Is there anything I need to improve on? Is there anything I need to innovate? Do I need to make good? Maybe depending on the situation, I might need to give them a discount or a bonus or something if they're already a little bit dissatisfied with the process, or they maybe encounter some other challenges that I didn't want them to encounter. See how you can make good for them. And then think, of course, how to deliver service and wow them going forward. So then they will be pleasantly surprised and happy to keep working with you. And then, of course, always when really with the interaction with any client, you want to learn and look back and see how you can improve, whether it's improving by just how you can improve, whether it's in the service delivery, project management, client onboarding, or if you're looking back at a difficult client situation, how you want to get better and spotting them much sooner and not entering into service relationships with them. So before we finish the episode, I would love to hear maybe some of the stories that you had to deal with that were challenging for you, whether the clients were difficult or demanding. And maybe if you have any questions or how could I have handled it better? Or what could I have done to prevent this from happening or prevent from entering a relationship? I am happy to help. I would love for you to share some stories with me. Maggie at stairwaytoleadership.com. Definitely in my corporate career as a leader, at some point, all you do is challenging, demanding, and difficult clients and helping your team handle that and responding to escalations and so on. So I've gotten really good at this. And of course, I'm using those skills to help my clients get really good at this. I would love to help you and also hear some of your stories. So don't be scared to share them with me. And otherwise, see you next week. Bye.